Hey everyone, it's Pickles here. I'm going to read some poems from Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends. Okay, so this first one is called Ickle Me, Pickle Me, Tickle Me Too. Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too, went for a ride in a flying shoe. Hooray, what fun, it's time we flew, said Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too. Ickle was captain and Pickle was crew, and Tickle served coffee and mulligan stew. As higher and higher and higher they flew, Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too. Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too, over the sun and beyond the blue. Hold on, stay in, I hope we do, cried Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too. Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too, never returned to the world they knew, and nobody knows what's happened to dear Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too. Okay. Next one, it's called Pancake. Who wants a pancake, sweet and piping hot? Good little Grace looks up and says, I'll take the one on top. Who else wants a pancake fresh out of the griddle? Terrible Teresa smiles and says, I'll take one from the middle. Okay, this is called Sick. I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. I have the measles and the mumps, a gash, a rash, and purple bumps. My mouth is wet, my throat is dry, I'm going blind in my right eye. My tonsils are as big as rocks, I've counted 16 chicken pox. Oh, and there's one more, that's 17. And don't you think my face looks green? My leg is cut, my eyes are blue, it might be instamatic flu. I cough and sneeze and gasp and choke, I'm sure that my left leg is broke. My hip hurts when I move my chin, my belly button's caving in, my back is wrenched, my ankle sprained, my appendix pains each time it rains. My nose is cold, my toes are numb, I have a sliver in my thumb. My neck is stiff, my spine is weak, I hardly whisper when I speak. My tongue is filling up my mouth, I think my hair is falling out. My elbow's bent, my spine ain't straight, my temperature is 108. My brain is shrunk, I cannot hear, there is a hole inside my ear. I have a hangnail and my heart is... What? What's that? What's that you say? You say today is Saturday? Goodbye, I'm going out to play. Okay. This one's called Where the Sidewalk Ends, like the title of the book. There is a place where the sidewalk ends and before the street begins. And there the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson bright. And there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the peppermint wind. Let us leave this place where the smoke blows black, and the dark street winds and bends. Past the pits where the asphalt of flowers grow, we shall walk with a walk that is measured and slow. And watch where the chalk-white arrows go to the place where the sidewalk ends. Yes, we'll walk with a walk that is measured and slow, and we'll go where the chalk-white arrows go, for the children they mark, and the children they know, the place where the sidewalk ends. This one's called The Planet of Mars. On the planet of Mars, they have clothes just like ours, and they have the same shoes and same laces, and they have the same charms and same graces, and they have the same heads and same faces, but not in the very same places. Okay. This one's called If the World Was Crazy. If the world was crazy, you know what I'd eat, a big slice of soup and a whole quart of meat. A lemonade sandwich, and then I might try some roasted ice cream or bicycle pie, a nice notebook salad, an underwear roast, an omelet of hats, and some crisp cardboard toast. A thick malted milk made from pencils and daisies, and that's what I'd eat if the world was crazy. If the world was crazy, you know what I'd wear, a chocolate suit and a tie of eclair, some marshmallow earmuffs, some licorice shoes, and I'd read a paper of peppermint news. I'd talk through my ears, and I would always carry a paper umbrella for when it grew hazy, to keep in the rain if the world was crazy. If the world was crazy, you know what I'd do. I'd walk on the ocean and swim in my shoe. I'd fly through the ground and I'd skip through the air. I'd run down the bathtub and bathe on the stair. When I met somebody, I'd say, goodbye, Joe. And when I was leaving, then I'd say hello. And the greatest of men would be silly and lazy, so I would be king if the world was crazy. Okay. This is the last one. It's called Just Me, Just Me, Just Me. Sweet Marie, she loves just me. She also loves Maurice McGee. No, she don't. She loves just me. She also loves Louise Dupree. No, she don't. She loves just me. She also loves the willow tree. No, she don't. She loves just me. Poor fool, why can't you see? She can love others and still love thee. There you go. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Zimmy, and this is the story of Frog Belly Ratbone. Okay. In a dull, gray, endless place called Cement Land, there lived a very special boy. This boy had a singular wish. He wished to find a treasure. There's the boy. Each day, the boy searched through heaping piles of junk that collected around Cement Land. He found greasy toaster ovens, broken TVs, and wet, smelly socks. But no treasure. "The only thing in these junk piles is junk!" cried the boy. He was angry enough to give up when all of a sudden he spied something unexpected. I wonder what it is. It was a strange and wonderful box. Attached to the box was a wrinkled note which said, "Put my wondrous riches into the earth and enjoy." The boy pried open the lock with a twisty piece of wire and lifted the lid. There he is, lifting the lid. The box was bursting with dazzling colors. "I found a treasure!" shouted the boy. He took one of the beautiful packages and tore it open. But inside the package, there were no bright colors at all. Just hundreds of tiny gray specks. Where were all the wondrous riches? The boy wasn't sure, but he carefully prepared some earth. He sprinkled in a few specks and waited 2 or 3 minutes, but nothing happened. Deeply dejected, the boy went home. He did not realize that the unguarded treasures were now in terrible danger. The next day, the boy returned to a horrifying sight. The specks had been dug up. "Thieves!" he screeched. In a flash, he had a plan. He ran straight to the nearest junk pile. There, he gathered those wet, smelly socks. He found moldy pillow stuffing and scraggly wires. He patched, buttoned, sewed, and zipped. Soon, a creature began to take shape. It had crooked, bony arms and a giant-sized belly. "You'll be finished in just a second," the boy told his creation. "All you need now is a crown." "Stand tall, Frog Belly Ratbone," shouted the boy, waving his hands like a wizard. "I dub thee King of the Treasures. Frog Belly Ratbone, 1, 2, 3, you are the monster who will protect the specks." "Monster," said Frog Belly Ratbone, "but my dear boy, you've made me far too good looking to be a monster. And by the way," he continued, "my socks are very moist and my underwear is rather picky." "Sorry about your underwear," said the boy, "but I need a monster to scare the thieves away from the specks. I mean, the treasures." Frog Belly wanted to see the treasures. The boy handed him a package and let him read the note. Frog Belly sprang into the air. "My dear boy, you have found some wondrous riches. We must put them in the earth, just as the note says." "But I already did that," said the boy. "Nothing happened." "We'll do it again," said Frog Belly. "Frog Belly Ratbone, 1, 2, 3. You must be patient and then you will see." And so Frog Belly and the boy started digging holes. They also filled jars and cans and boxes with the earth and sprinkled specks into each one. They sprinkled specks all around Cement Land. When the sun began to set, it was time for the boy to go home. "Watch out for the thieves," he warned. He shook Frogbelly's hand and scurried off. Frogbelly stood all alone in the spooky shadows. The sky grew darker and darker. Those thieves will surely be back tonight, he thought. Just then he heard footsteps. Someone was trying to move very carefully, stepping quietly on crinkled cans and squishy newspapers. Frogbelly waited, not making a sound. At that very moment, sneaking through the junk piles were 3 thieves, a rat, a rabbit, and a fruit fly. They were licking their chops and adjusting their masks when an eerie voice floated toward them through the darkness. "Frogbelly, Ratbone, 1, 2, 3. The specks in the earth are protected by me. You must be patient and then you will see." "See what?" the thieves asked each other. They were shaking in their tracks. Just then they did see. A giant scary monster with long bony arms and wet smelly socks. Ah! The thieves ran for their lives. The next morning, the boy was happy to discover that Frogbelly had saved the treasures. "What do we do now?" he asked. "Now," said Frogbelly, "we must give the treasures lots of water." So the boy filled a watering can and went to work. A few days later, the boy noticed something quite peculiar. The boxes were twittering. The jars and cans trembled. "Look, Frogbelly," he said. Slowly and very shyly, the treasure was beginning to reveal itself. "The wondrous riches are here at last," Frogbelly exclaimed. Frogbelly and the boy cheered. From inside a junk pile, the thieves were listening. They felt terrible about having tried to steal such wonderful treasures. The rabbit jumped out of the hiding place and landed right in Frogbelly's arms. "We will never steal again," the rabbit cried. "And we'll return all the specks we took," said the fruit fly. "Please let us help you take care of the treasures," said the rat. So Frogbelly and the boy forgave the thieves, and now they were all part of the team. As they watered the treasures to help them grow bigger, they sang together. "Frogbelly, Ratbone, 1, 2, 3. We must be patient and then we will see." Soon 1 flower appeared, then 3, then 100. "Cement land is filled with colors now," shouted the boy. Just when it seemed that nothing better could happen, the fruit fly discovered a bright red strawberry. "And here's a zucchini," cried the rat. "Go ahead, rabbit," urged Frogbelly. "Pick the biggest carrot top you can find and pull. Pull with all your might." That night, the 5 friends prepared a special feast, a feast fit for a king. 3 cheers for Frogbelly, Ratbone, 1, 2, 3, because thanks to Frogbelly, they were patient and they did see. The end. Hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.
Hello, welcome to Camp Kesem Storytelling. I'm Scuff, and today I will be reading a passage from the ancient tome Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. This is a weird and kooky fictional book series, and therefore, in the spirit of this most random text, I will be reading chapters 8 and chapter 9 rather than chapter 1 and 2. Before I get started, the 2 main characters are Arthur Dent and Fort Prefect. One is a human from Earth, while the other is an alien researcher of Earth with a most unfortunate pseudonym. Where we pick up, the 2 are floating through space without spacesuits, quickly running out of oxygen needed to survive. So sit back, relax in a hammock or your favorite chair, or if you feel so inclined, feel free to skip and move around while you listen to this story. I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 8. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a wholly remarkable book. It has been compiled and recompiled many times over many years and under many different editorships. It contains contributions from countless numbers of travelers and researchers. The introduction begins like this. Space, it says, is big. Really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down to the grocery store, but that's just peanuts to space. Listen, and so on. To be fair, though, when confronted by the sheer enormity of the distances between the stars, better minds than the one responsible for the guide's introduction have faltered. Some invite you to consider for a moment a peanut in Reading and a small walnut in Johannesburg, and other such dizzying concepts. The simple truth is that interstellar distances will not fit into the human imagination. Even light, which travels so fast that it takes most races thousands of years to realize that it travels at all, takes time to journey between the stars. It takes 8 minutes to journey from the star Sol to the place where the Earth used to be, and 4 years to arrive at Sol's nearest stellar neighbor, Alpha Proxima. For light to reach the other side of the galaxy, for it to reach Damogran, for instance, takes rather longer, 500,000 years. The record for hitchhiking this distance is just under 5 years, but you don't get to see much on the way. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy says that if you hold a lungful of air, you can survive in the total vacuum of space for about 30 seconds. However, it does go on to say that what with space being the mind-boggling size it is, the chances of getting picked up by another ship within those 30 seconds are 2 to the power of 276,709 to 1 against. By a total staggering coincidence, that is also the telephone number of an Islington flat where Arthur once went to a very good birthday party. Though the planet Earth, the Islington flat, and the telephone have all now been demolished, it is comforting to reflect that they are all in some small way commemorated by the fact that 29 seconds later, Ford and Arthur, floating through space with no oxygen, were rescued. Chapter 9. A computer chattered to itself in alarm as it noticed an airlock open and close itself for no apparent reason. This was because Reason was in fact out to lunch. A hole had just appeared in the galaxy. It was exactly a nothing of a second long, a nothing of an inch wide, and quite a lot of millions of light years from end to end. As it closed up, lots of paper hats and party balloons fell out of it and drifted off into the universe. A team of 7 3-foot-high market analysts fell out of it. 239,000 lightly fried eggs fell out of it too, materializing in a large wobbly heap on the famine-struck land of Pogrel in the Panzel system. The nothingth of a second for which the whole existed reverberated backwards and forwards through time in a most improbable fashion. Somewhere in the deeply remote past, it seriously traumatized a small random group of atoms, drifting through the empty sterility of space, and made them cling together in the most extraordinarily unlikely patterns. These patterns quickly learned to copy themselves. This was part of what was so extraordinary about the patterns, and went on to cause massive trouble on every planet they drifted onto. That was how life began in the universe. 5 wild event maelstroms swirled in vicious storms of unreason and spewed up pavement. On the pavement lay Ford Prefect and Arthur Dent, gulping like half-spent fish. "There you are," gasped Ford, scrabbling for a fingerhold on the pavement as it raced through the third reach of the unknown. "I told you I'd think of something." "Oh, sure," said Arthur. "Sure." "Bright idea of mine," said Ford, "to find a passing spaceship and get rescued by it." The real universe arched sickeningly away from them. Various pretend ones flitted silently by. like mountain goats. Primal light exploded, splattering space-time as with gobbets of jello. Time blossomed, matter shrank away. The highest prime number coalesced quietly in a corner and hid itself away forever. "Oh, come off it," said Arthur. "The chances against it were astronomical." "Don't knock it. It worked," said Ford. "What sort of ship are we in?" said Arthur, as the pit of eternity yawned beneath them. "I don't know," said Ford. "I haven't opened my eyes yet." "No, nor have I," said Arthur. The universe jumped, froze, quivered, and splayed out in several unexpected directions. Arthur and Ford opened their eyes and looked about in considerable surprise. "Oh my goodness," said Arthur. "It looks just like the seafront at Southend." "Well, I'm relieved to hear you say that," said Ford. "Why?" "Because I thought I must be going mad." "Perhaps you are. Perhaps you only thought I said it." Ford thought about this. "Well, did you say it, or didn't you?" he asked. "I think so," said Arthur. "Well, perhaps we're both going mad." "Yes," said Arthur. "We'd be mad, all things considered, to think this was Southend." "Well, do you think this is Southend?" "Oh, yes. So do I. Therefore we must be mad. Nice day for it." "Yes," said a passing maniac. "Who is that?" asked Arthur. "Who? The man with the 5 heads, and the elderberry bush full of kippers?" "Yes. I don't know. Just someone." "Ah." They both sat on the pavement and watched with a certain unease as huge children bounced heavily along the sand and wild horses thundered through the sky, taking fresh supplies of reinforced railings to the uncertain areas. "You know," said Arthur, with a slight cough, "if this is Southend, there's something very odd about it." "You mean the way the sea stays steady as a rock, and the buildings keep washing up and down?" said Ford. "Yes, I thought that was odd too. In fact," he continued, as with a huge bang Southend split itself into 6 equal segments, which danced and spun giddily around each other and lewd in Lacinius formations, "there's something altogether very strange going on." Wild yowling noises of pipes and strings seared through the wind. Hot doughnuts popped out of the road for 10 pence each. Horrid fish stormed out of the sky, and Arthur and Ford decided to make a run for it. They plunged through heavy walls of sound, mountains of archaic thought, valleys of mood music, bad shoe sessions, and footling bats, and suddenly heard a girl's voice. It sounded quite a sensible voice, but it just said, 2 to the power of 100,000 to 1 against and falling, and that was all. Ford skidded down a beam of light and spun around, trying to find a source for the voice, but could see nothing he could seriously believe in. "What was that voice?" shouted Arthur. "I don't know," yelled Ford. "I don't know. It sounded like a measurement of probability." "Probability? What do you mean?" "Probability. You know, like 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 5 to 4 against. It said 2 to the power of 100,000 to 1 against. That's pretty improbable, you know." A 1,000,000-gallon vat of custard upended itself over them without warning. "But what does it mean?" cried Arthur. "What? The custard?" "No, the measurement of probability." "I don't know. I don't know at all. I think we're on some kind of spaceship." "I can only assume," said Arthur, "that this is not the first-class compartment." Bulges appeared in the fabric of space-time. Great, ugly bulges. "Ah!" said Arthur, as he felt his body softening and bending in unusual directions. "Southend seems to be melting away. The stars are swirling. A dust bowl. My legs are drifting off into the sunset. My left arm's come off too." A frightening thought struck him. "Oh no," he said. "How am I going to operate my digital watch now?" He wound his eyes desperately around in Ford's direction. "Ford," he said, "you're turning into a penguin. Stop it." Again came the voice. 2 to the power of 75,000 to 1 against and falling. Ford waddled around in his pond in a furious circle. "Hey, who are you?" he quacked. "Where are you? What's going on? And is there any way of stopping it?" Please relax, said the voice pleasantly, like a stewardess in an airliner, with only one wing and two engines, one of which is on fire. You are perfectly safe. But that's not the point, raged Ford. The point is that I am now a perfectly safe penguin, and my colleague here is rapidly running out of limbs. It's all right. I've got them back now, said Arthur. 2 to the power of 50,000 to 1 against and falling, said the voice. Admittedly, said Arthur, they're longer than I usually like them, but... Isn't there anything, squawked Ford in avian fury, you feel you ought to be telling us? The voice cleared its throat. A giant petite four walloped off into the distance. Welcome, the voice said, to the starship Heart of Gold. The voice continued. Please do not be alarmed, it said, by anything you see or hear around you. You are bound to feel some initial ill effects as you have been rescued from certain death at an improbability level of 2 to the power of 276,000 to 1 against, possibly much higher. We are now cruising at a level of 2 to the power of 25,000 to 1 against and falling, and we will be restoring normality as soon as we are sure what is normal anyway. Thank you. 2 to the power of 20,000 to 1 against and falling. The voice cut out. Ford and Arthur were in a small, luminous pink cubicle. Ford was wildly excited. Arthur, he said, this is fantastic. We've been picked up by a ship powered by the infinite improbability drive. This is incredible. I heard rumors about it before. They were all officially denied, but they must have done it. They've built the improbability drive. Arthur, Arthur, what's happening? Arthur had jammed himself against the door to the cubicle, trying to hold it closed, but it was ill-fitting. Tiny, furry hands were squeezing themselves through the cracks. Their fingers were ink-stained. Tiny voices chattered insanely. Arthur looked up. Ford, he said, there's an infinite number of monkeys outside who want to talk to us about the script for Hamlet they've been working on. And that wraps up Chapter 9. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions about the book or the plot, feel free to ask me when we have time over Zoom. Thanks for listening.